It's Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, and here's the latest happenings inside the federal machine. Remember the nasty semi-truck crash that I covered on yesterday's episode involving 8 vehicles and killing 3 people? Well, the truck driver is yet another illegal immigrant from India who obtained his driver's license from the state of California, of course. And also, the insufferable mainstream media is at it again. Ken Dilanian, who is the Washington, D.C. Justice and Intelligence Correspondent for MSNBC, reported that a meeting happened between Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Maryland U.S. Attorney Kelly Hayes, and they talked about Senator Adam Schiff's mortgage fraud case, and that Kelly doesn't believe the case is strong enough to move forward. Well, according to Deputy AG Todd Blanche, he says the meeting never happened and MSNBC is totally full of shit as usual. And also, the food stamp program SNAP Benefits is expected to run out of money within 9 days, affecting up to 42 million people. 42 million people. Also, Republicans introduced a bill for a vote which would restore pay for federal workers, and the Democrats predictably said no, with only 3 Democrats giving a yes to the vote. And the president held a Homeland Security Task Force roundtable today with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Attorney General Pamela Bondi, and others that were in attendance. And also, Democrats are investigating President Trump's new Trump RX program he created with Big Pharma to offer significantly lower drug prices to Americans. They allege that Trump's buddies are enriching themselves while nobody gets cheaper prescriptions. And there's a lot other material that happened today that I'm going to get into. So if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and consider subscribing to the channel. It'd mean the world to me if you subscribed. And I'll be bringing the swamp to you every Monday through Friday, usually posting around 11 o'clock p.m., even though it's kind of a bit of a late one tonight because I had some technical difficulties. There were some issues with recording. I got most of the way through it, and I don't know, man, OBS was really jerking me around, so I don't know what's going on with it. But anyway, I had to start all over. So anyway, I guess better late than never. So anyway, this comes from Bill Malugan. Breaking, per multiple ICE sources, Jashanpreet Singh, the semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash on the 10 freeway in Ontario, California yesterday, is an Indian illegal alien who was caught and released at the California border by the Biden administration in March of 2022. The DHS photo of him attached via federal sources. There's the asshole right there. And I'm told ICE is placing a detainer request on Singh with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, where he is in custody on suspicion of DUI, causing great bodily injury and gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. He has not been formally charged yet. Police say Singh was speeding and under the influence, never hitting his brakes when he crashed into slow-moving traffic on the freeway, causing a devastating and deadly chain reaction crash that killed 3 people. The victims have not been identified yet. And before I go to the next topic, let me see if I have this. Yeah, okay, so here's the video, in case you missed it yesterday.
Now take a look.
Actually, here we go.
Now take a look. This is exclusive dash cam video.
Good grief, man.
That is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations.
Absolutely insane. Even his truck burst into flames.
Plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway in Ontario just after 1 p.m. yesterday.
Unbelievable.
The LA Times, the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. A total
under the influence of drugs. Unfucking believable. Just absolutely outrageous. Thanks a lot, Gavin Newsom. Of course, he's not going to take blame. He's going to end up shifting the blame over to President Joe Biden, because of course he is. Anyway, U.S. DOT rapid response. It says a lot how silent the left is after these deadly back-to-back crashes. It's like they know they're in the wrong. And the back-to-back, it's in reference to the other semi-truck crash, which happened, when was that, in June or July? I think it was in July. That happened in the state of Florida that killed 3 people. Another Indian national or illegal immigrant from India who caused that accident. And he's currently sitting in jail without bail for, aggravated vehicular homicide or something like that. So this comes from Rapid Response Press Secretary. It's a quote, so I'll just let her.
It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing
Ooh, that's loud. Sorry about that.
DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
Yes, I can confirm that
That'd be
California
sure nice.
gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022 through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so, yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I defer you to them for any specifics.
Yeah, including one illegal immigrant from New York State who was given a CDL by the state of New York who refused to give his name, so they put no name given on his ID. I am not making that up. That actually happened. All right, Eric Daugherty, Gavin Newsom has decided to blame Biden for this. Eric Daugherty just in. Gavin Newsom blames the Biden administration for letting Indian illegal alien Jashanpreet Singh drive a semi-truck in California and ultimately killed several people in a crash this week. No, it's on both Gavin for the CDL and Biden for letting Singh in. Quote, the federal government approved and renewed this individual's federal employment authorization multiple times, which allowed him to obtain a commercial driver's license in accordance with federal law, Gavin's press office said. Yeah, you could say federal law you want, but it's not the federal government that gave him a CDL, asshole. It's the fucking state of California and your dumbass who did. All right, so we're going to move on to the next thing. From rapid response from the vice president, he went to Israel. He's moving on with the president's peace plan, quarterbacking that over the next, I'm assuming just coming days. I don't know if he plans on spending weeks out there, but he's out there in Israel right now, just overseeing the progress of the peace deal. So he says on the Knesset vote on West Bank annexation. So the Knesset, they voted to annex the West Bank, which is clearly not in the peace deal. The peace deal was very specific that Israel is not going to annex any part of Palestine, but they decided to hold a vote and they voted to annex it. And VP Vance, he comments on that, so we'll just play that.
When I asked about it, somebody told me that it was a political stunt, that it had no practical significance. It was purely symbolic. I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some
yeah,
insult
that is pretty
to it.
stupid.
The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not.
And look, that's only going to enrage Hamas. It's going to enrage those folks over in Palestine when they hear this news. So I don't know why they would do that. It's almost like they're just trying to dare them to take up their arms again and try to rise up this conflict again. I don't see what point that this would have served if it was just a political stunt. Other than that,
will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it. When I asked about it,
all right. So that happened, and this comes also from JD Vance. What an amazing blessing to have visited the site of Christ's death and resurrection. I am immensely grateful to the Greek, Armenian, and Catholic priests who care for this most sacred of places. May the Prince of Peace have mercy on us and bless our efforts for peace. And he reposted William Martin. Vice President J.D. Vance visits the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. I'm not sure if I was pronouncing that right. I'm terrible with words. I'm bad with names. So anyway, here's a few images of J.D. Vance visiting the church and speaking with the priests and whatnot. So that happened today. It was posted 12 hours ago. All right, Department of State Secretary Rubio's remarks after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel today. And of course, it's another quote. You know how I do it. I'd rather him say it than me read it.
Thank you for having us. And again, we're back here just a little bit over a week after a very historic day where President Trump's work with our partners led to this extraordinary breakthrough. Now we have more work ahead of us, but we feel very positive about it. We're making good progress. It's amazing that in just 7 or 8 days, the kinds of things and systems that have been set up. No one's under any illusions. We've already done the impossible once, and we intend to keep doing that if we can. We have good partners that we're working on. But we feel confident and positive about the progress that's being made. We're clear-eyed about the challenges, too. But the president has made this a top priority, I think, as evidenced by the fact that both Steve Woodcock and and Jared Kushner were here for much of the week, and I spent time with them, and the vice president just left. We crossed on the way. And then I'm here now today because this is a priority. It's a very important achievement, but there's more work to be done and bigger achievements that lie ahead. And so we're here to work on that, and we feel very positive and confident that we're going to get there despite substantial obstacles. We're going to get there.
Yeah, lots of work to be done. It's something that's probably going to take years to rebuild all of that, and that's assuming everything goes off without a hitch, and that they stick to the agreement on both sides, really. If that one doesn't agitate the other, but this whole vote by the Knesset, that's not going to help anything. All right, Eric Daugherty update. Hakeem Jeffries, he angrily declares he's going to target and investigate President Trump and anyone who had a part in building the new White House ballroom. Oh, you mean the ballroom that's completely funded by President Trump himself and a few rich donors? Okay. So anyway, we've got some series of quotes. He says everything here in the video, as far as I understand. I believe it's word for word.
Any executive authority. And more likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country.
Oh, yeah? That's a bold
probably
statement.
soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all
Like
of this
who?
is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable.
Oh, so you already know exactly if the Democrats get the House back next term, they're going to use that as every excuse, or use this as the excuse to impeach President Trump again, just like they did in his first term. They're just coming up with whatever dumbass reason that has no basis in reality whatsoever, and they're going to try to move that onto the floor and just start impeaching them. Impeachment proceedings. We can do all that all over again.
How long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation, and that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars. Not a cent is coming from taxpayer dollars. Dude, you would think since they've gone through this whole song and dance already that either they would not do this or they would be a little bit better at doing this. It's just, they just get dumber every time they try to attack Trump. It always flies in their face and slipping on their Democrat banana peels over and over again. He's going to get nowhere with this because the White House ballroom is 100% funded by private entities and Trump himself.
And, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people.
By the way, this image that they're showing, they're not destroying any part of the interior whatsoever. This is a former driveway that was a covered driveway. It didn't even have any glass windows or anything. It was just simply an awning that cars can drive through. And worst case scenario, now that that's not here, they're either going to have to park in front of it and have to, oh my God, open up an umbrella if it's raining. Oh no. Or they would just have to pull up to another part of the White House and get out of their vehicle and walk inside from there. That's it. This is just an awning. It's just a little like garage parking area where they can pull up and get out of their car. They're not ripping up the East Wing.
People, it doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
Just the outside facade of it.
Executive.
All right, so we'll move on to GOP. The DNC is so mad that President Trump is building a new ballroom at the White House. They posted a sad Instagram video last night. Too bad their intern put in a photo of the East Wing of Buckingham Palace, not the White House. Cry more, libs. So this is from the Democrats' Instagram chant, or their Instagram profile. From the Democrats' original audio, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this image is of Buckingham Palace. See, here's the proof. Buckingham Palace East Wing opens for the first time, July 11th of 2024. Well, look at that, man. Trying to misdirect, trying to dumb down their voters, yet even more by showing things that aren't even based in reality at all, trying to keep them locked up in the brain-dead matrix. All right, so Energy and Commerce Democrats news. Democratic health leaders are investigating Trump's latest stunt over concerns that Trump RX enriches his corporate allies. It does nothing to lower drug costs for consumers. I don't think that this website is quite available yet. You know what? Here, let me take a quick look and see if it is. I searched for it earlier. No, Trump RX and find your medication for the lowest price. Trump RX coming soon. So it's not available yet. January 2026. So they haven't ironed out the details yet, I would assume, because the website's not even available yet. So we don't even know what this website's going to consist of. But anyway, let me see if I can find this article. I will. Oh, here it is. It's down here in the comments. We'll take a little bit of a look at this. So Democratic Health Committee leaders blast Trump RX for ties to donors and family and question cost savings. This is on Democrats-energycommerce.house.gov. and it reads as follows. House and Senate Democratic Health Committee leaders wrote to the Trump administration as well as private company BlinkRx today, raising serious questions regarding the newly announced TrumpRx direct-to-consumer platform, which may be structured to benefit pharmaceutical companies and enrich the president's friends while doing little to meaningfully lower prescription drug prices for Americans. I mean, I would think Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren would be against this whole initiative because she gets paid, like, what was it, $600,000 from Big Pharma that gets dumped into her political campaigning. So anyway, the letters were signed by so on and so forth. I'm not going to read all the names. But anyway, we are deeply concerned that this DTC platform centralized through TrumpRx.gov will be yet another administration action, yet another. They're saying that there's yet another administration action that enriches companies and industries with close ties to President Trump. So what are the other actions? I know this isn't the forum to list those, but I'd be curious to know. So while doing nothing to reduce the excessively high cost of prescription drugs for Americans, which is largely at the fault of the Democrats, thanks mostly, I'm assuming, to Obamacare, because it is hyperinflated beyond belief. Insurance was actually not that unaffordable before that happened. But thanks to Democrats with 0 Republican votes, they passed Obamacare. And they passed all the subsidies that's been propping up Obamacare for the last, 15, 16 years or some shit. All right, so anyway, the Democratic committee leaders wrote in their letter to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. On September 30th, the Trump administration announced it was creating TrumpRx and that a pricing agreement has been reached with Pfizer to sell its drugs at prices in line with the lower rates paid by other developed countries. A similar agreement with AstraZeneca was announced on October 10th, while other pharmaceutical companies have made public statements about their intended participation in TrumpRx. To date, the administration has withheld the terms of the pricing agreements with Pfizer and AstraZeneca from the public. The federal government has never been involved in the direct sale of prescription drugs in this way, and the committee leaders voiced concern about whether this platform can guarantee that consumers will pay lower prices due to the administration's complete lack of transparency about such prices will be calculated and evaluated. It's almost as if they're still ironing out the details. It's almost as if they may have created this on the fly, and now they're going over which drugs that they're going to put on the website. How much are they going to put? Are they going to have an endless supply of certain drugs? What type? Are they going to have scheduled drugs on here? Probably not. But I'm sure that there's a lot of details that they have to sort out, which would explain why they're not being quite transparent yet, because there's probably nothing to be transparent with just yet. So I'm sure once they have the details, they'll be more than happy to share that with the Energy and Commerce Committee Democrats. All right, moving on to the FBI. 31 defendants, including members and associates of organized crime, La Cosa Nostra, families in National Basketball Association coach Chauncey Billups, charged in schemes to rig illegal poker games. So I'm going to link this, which is an article from the FBI. Today, over 30 people were arrested and charged for their alleged roles in criminal schemes to rig illegal poker games to win large amounts of money. These individuals used technology and deceit to scam innocent victims out of millions of dollars, eventually funneling money to La Cosa Nostra and enriching one of the most notorious criminal networks in the world. This investigation spanned 9 states and FBI offices, and I want to thank the men and women of the FBI for their tremendous work and dedication, rooting out those actors responsible. This FBI will never stop following the money to pursue and find those who break our laws. So I got a statement from FBI Director Kash Patel himself with regard to this investigation.
Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
Yo,
And
holy
you'll hear more
shit,
about
like
those
all of the big
details
ones.
today.
Damn.
The charges and the arrests that were
Dude, they could totally make a movie out of that. It sounds like something they could legit make an actual, like, Martin Scorsese kind of fucking
taken
movie
down
out of
across
that.
this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling.
Wow.
This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country.
Yeah, so if you thought that organized crime or La Cosa Nostra has pretty much fizzled out at this point, that's obviously very much not the
You
case.
hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands.
Of course, it's
of
not
dollars.
that small.
It's not even
It
millions.
is the mafia.
We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Cosa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people from money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where card games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States Attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account. So with that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nocella. Thank you.
Dude, that is absolutely wild, man. They had like all the major crime families involved in this one, spanning investigations of years. I'm sure it took years, but probably took them years just to get somebody on the inside to like somebody undercover or whatever. I mean, that couldn't have been an easy endeavor, especially involving multiple crime families. That is crazy, man. All right, Homeland Security, new investigation reveals under the Biden administration, FEMA was weaponized into a political tool that discriminated against Trump supporters. Y'all remember this from last year with Hurricane Helene up in North Carolina, who were hit by natural disasters. If anything should be nonpartisan, it should be disaster response. Under Secretary Noem, we are gutting the entrenched bureaucrats who politicized FEMA and returning it to its mission of serving the American people. The Hurricane Helene one is the one that I remember. I'm sure there's many other examples, but I just remember hearing on social media last year that people who had Trump signs in their front yards were getting skipped over by FEMA. So they were embroiled in controversy when that was coming out. So anyway, so we'll hear what they have to say about it.
Most Americans can agree that if anything should be apolitical and nonpartisan, it should be disaster response.
Yeah, you would think,
people need
but not under Biden.
Following a natural disaster. So to see the previous administration taking an organization like FEMA that's supposed to serve all Americans at all times without any political leanings and politicizing their response when hurricane strikes, when earthquakes strike, when fires rage through our country, it's really sad to see, and it just shows the institutional rot that exists within bureaucratic government at the highest levels, and it shows the dangers that rot can pose to the average American citizen. And to speak to your point, it's been really shocking to see the depth of this report and the types of houses that were being skipped over. Simply having a Trump campaign sign in your yard was enough to be denied aid by the federal government under the previous administration and under FEMA.
Yep, that it was. And if I come across a report sometime between today and tomorrow, I'll bring it up on tomorrow's episode for Friday's The Swamp. All right, this is from Donald J. Trump's Truth Social. On rapid response, the federal government was preparing to surge San Francisco, California on Saturday, but friends of mine who live in the area called last night to ask me to not go forward with the surge, and that the mayor, Daniel Lurie, was making substantial progress. I spoke to Mayor Lurie last night, and he asked very nicely that I give him a chance to see if he could turn it around. I told him I think he's making a mistake because we could do it much faster and remove the criminals that the law does not permit him to remove. I told him it's an easier process if we do it faster, stronger, and safer, but let's see how you do. The people of San Francisco have come together on fighting crime, especially since we began to take charge of that very nasty subject. Great people like Jensen Huang, Mark Benioff, and others have called, saying that the future of San Francisco is great. They want to give it a shot. Therefore, we will not surge San Francisco on Saturday. Stay tuned. And that I will. I will follow that and see if he ends up changing his mind on that. All right, Todd Blanche breaking. Dilanian MSNBC reports on a recent meeting that never happened. Can you ask your two sources for more info? I'm genuinely curious, excited to hear more about this made-up meeting. Also, unequivocally, U.S. Attorney Hayes has told me no such thing, and he's responding to Ken Dilanian. He works for MSNBC, and he says the following. Exclusive with Carol Leonig, who works for the Washington Post and MSNBC, the federal prosecutor in charge of investigating whether Senator Adam Schiff should be charged with mortgage fraud recently told her bosses in Washington that she did not think the case was strong enough to move forward. Two sources familiar with the matter told MSNBC. Two sources. A third person familiar with the matter said the case is continuing to be investigated. Kelly Hayes, the U.S. Attorney of Maryland, met in recent days with Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, to update him on the Schiff case, the three people said. Hayes, an experienced federal prosecutor, told Blanche she did not think the case against Schiff was strong, two people said. The two said Ed Martin, a controversial senior Justice Department official, is pressing to keep the case alive. Well, fancy that. What are the odds? The sources are from Schiff's Senate office. Lying leaker got a leak. Yeah, that ain't no shit. So yeah, according to Todd Blanche, that didn't happen. And once again, he's the Deputy Attorney General serving under the leadership of AG Pam Bondi. All right, so the next thing, it's a quote. So this was the Homeland Security Task Force meeting that took place today with Secretary Kristi Noem and also AG Pam Bondi, and also Kash Patel was there, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War. So I'm going to play some of the clips from that today, some of the highlights.
We're finally treating the cartels as the core national security threat that they really are. The cartels are waging war on America, and just as I promised in the campaign, we're waging war on them like they've never seen before. All you have to do is turn on your television and you'll see what's happening to them. Past administrations have tried to mitigate this threat, and our objective
unless it's
is
mainstream
to eliminate
left television.
it. We're not mitigating, we're eliminating, we're getting them out. The bad ones we're putting in prison. We hate to do that because that means we're stuck with them for 50 years or
yeah,
more.
For like $50,000 taxpayer dollars a year per inmate.
More than 70 tons of deadly narcotics, along with more than 1,000 illegal guns, and that's just recently. This is already the most successful anti-cartel and anti-gang operation in American history, and it's just getting started. We have incredible people. A lot of them are in this room with us today, and it's an honor to have them. But we're going to not stop until the threat has been fully and completely eradicated.
Yep, they're going after it from all angles at this point. Secretary Kristi Noem, through the Homeland Security Task Force, President Trump has taken the fight directly to the terrorist cartels, foreign gang bangers, and other evildoers, by taking them off our streets and seizing their assets so Americans no longer have to live in fear and danger. I'm proud to co-lead the Homeland Security Task Force with AG Pam Bondi, the largest coordinated campaign against transnational criminal organizations in U.S. history, and thank President Trump for his ingenious approach to making America safe again.
Mr. President, since the year 2000, we have lost over 1 million Americans to drugs.
A million Americans? Dude, that's more than twice the amount of people that we lost during World War II.
To these cartels
Holy
that
shit,
have proliferated that kind of a disease on our people and have gone to war with our next generation of Americans. When you signed the executive order that was protecting the American people from invasion, what you did is that you took these cartels and gangs that we've known for decades and you declared them to be what they really are, and that's terrorists. You declared war on them, and you didn't say we were just going to fight them. You said we are going to destroy them. And everybody around this table is so honored to be here to work with you to destroy these terrorists that have been killing Americans for years and getting rich off of it. I'm so proud of the work that was done just in the September surge. You referenced that earlier. We had over 400 operations that went down in those first 43 days of the Homeland Security Task Force in operations that brought, as Pam referenced, 3,200 terrorists to justice, got them off the streets.
3,200.
Sir, we also have had over precursors and chemicals that were brought in. We've had the work at the southern border. We've got Border Patrol here at the table with you. Fentanyl has been cut down by 50% coming into this country over our borders. We've continued to work not just nationally, but internationally and on our maritime borders as well. The ICE agents that have so much violence against them and threats against them, sir, they get up every day ready to work with this task force to be able to keep people safe. And then we've got Coast Guard, who's been doing just a ton of our incredible interdictions out on the seas and the waters in cooperation with operations that you've targeted in the Caribbean with the Department of War. And sir, I just want to thank you for the leadership you put at this table, for your cabinet members, for Stephen Miller, for putting this in place to make sure that what you did when you consolidated the Homeland Security Task Force, you took 1,000 other task forces that were already established in the federal government and you streamlined them into this room, into this group right here, so that we can look at each other in the face every day and say, what's our problem? How do we address it? How do we fix it? And then we go to work together with our arms linked to do exactly what you told us to do. And that's not just protect the American people from invasion, but to kill these terrorists. You gave us the task to eliminate them, destroy them, so that they can't destroy the next generation of Americans. So thank you, sir. Thank you for the people you put around this table.
So we have 1,000 task forces on the federal level. It's crazy how enormous our government is. All right, so I've got this one from Pete Hegseth, but this one's only 44 seconds because I already went through this before because I was having technical difficulties. This one as well. I do have a longer one with Pete Hegseth, which I will play. Let me get to this one first. One more from Kristi Noem. I'm proud to report that the Homeland Security Task Force created under President Trump has already resulted in the arrest of thousands of foreign terrorists, cartel members, and drug smugglers. Basically everything that we've heard, but she comments further in this clip.
Is so honored to be here to work with you to destroy these terrorists that have been killing Americans for years and getting rich off of it. I'm so proud of the work that was done just in the September surge. You referenced that earlier. We had over 400 operations that went down in those first 43 days of the Homeland Security Task Force in operations that brought, as Pam referenced, 3,200 terrorists to justice, got them off the streets. Sir, we also have had over precursors and chemicals that were brought in. We've had the work at the southern border. We've got Border Patrol here at the table with you. Fentanyl has been cut down by 50% coming into this country over our borders. We've continued to work not just nationally, but internationally and on our maritime borders as well. The ICE agents that have so much violence against them and threats against them, sir, they get up every day ready to work with this task force to be able to keep people safe. And then we've got Coast Guard, who's been doing just a ton of our incredible interdictions out on the seas and the waters in cooperation with operations that you've targeted in the Caribbean with the Department of War. And sir,
well, and just in, what was it, in August, maybe in July, the feds, they seized over 700,000 gallons of precursor material to make methamphetamine with, and they were located in these big 55-gallon oil drums that were in four or five shipping containers, completely stacked to the ceiling with these oil drums that was just filled with that precursor to make meth. It reminded me of in Breaking Bad. Remember that big oil barrel that they were successful in stealing? They barely stole it, but yeah, I believe it was that material that they were smuggling into the United States, which the federal government ended up seizing. It was supposed to go to the cartels, and it was coming from, of course, China. All right, Office of the DNI. Watch DNI Gabbard's full remarks at the White House Homeland Security Task Force Roundtable.
Mr. President, the key reason that you are hearing about these incredible effects is, number one, the team that you've assembled here and the leadership and the tone that you have set, first and foremost, about keeping the American people safe. The intelligence community plays a critical role in being able to support our law enforcement at the federal, state, and local level to make sure that they are armed with actionable intelligence to be able to actually go after those who threaten the safety and security of the American people. Mr. President, under your leadership, for the first time, there is a newly created National Intelligence Fusion Cell at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, National Counterterrorism, that has a very simple purpose: to make sure that we have two-way intelligence sharing of actionable information between the intelligence community and law enforcement. I want to talk briefly about three successes that we've had just here in the last few weeks, Mr. President, through the success of this interagency fusion cell. Just this last week, our National Counterterrorism Center supported, through actionable intelligence to both U.S. law enforcement as well as Mexican law enforcement, the arrest of a Sinaloa cartel boss, El Plato in Juarez,
I remember
Mexico,
reading about that,
as well as his top three money launderers. In a separate and recent successful interagency operation, NCTC worked closely with the U.S. Marshals Service that led to the arrest of another dangerous Sinaloa cartel member responsible for tracking a huge amounts of cocaine and hundreds of thousands of dollars in this single incident with drug proceeds through his network. And I'll say the last example I'll share is probably the most insidious, was providing intelligence to the Mexican law enforcement that led to the arrest of a CJNG cartel-affiliated baby trafficker called La Diabla. Her whole money-making operation was centered around luring pregnant women, performing illegal C-sections, harvesting organs, and selling newborn babies. Mr. President, it's your leadership that has made all of this possible.
Fucking
I can
savages,
tell you, in the midst
man.
of this government shutdown, our folks, like everyone around this table, are working 24/7 without pay and eager to get after this because they believe in your leadership and the mission that you have presented to them.
Good grief, man. I'm glad they caught, what was it, La Diabla? Dude, God's children are not for sale. All right, here we go. This is Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, his full statement. Let's give this a watch.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. Chief, likewise, Tulsi and Todd and Dan and Pam and Christy and Stephen and Cash. I mean, I could go around the table. From the Department of War, we are thankful and grateful for the incredible effort that your agencies put in. And we could not be more proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, not superficially, not kind of over here, but front and center on the Homeland Security Task Force, right there with you. Because our department has spent over 2 decades defending other homelands.
Dude, they got over 3,000 terrorists.
And if you talk to
the hell of a start.
On the southwest border,
Antifa, you're next.
Is sky high and continues to be, because they're proud to be defending their own communities, their own state, and their own country. So when that executive order was signed, the mission was clear: protecting the American people against invasion. And so the Department of War went straight to the southwest border. We still have 10,000 troops there. We have national defense
and I bet going after all these terrorists is probably way more complex than going after Antifa. They're going to be so sophisticated at this by the time they take down Antifa. It's going to be a walk in the park.
Going on the offense, counter-cartel operations. And it's not counter-cartel, as was mentioned. These are designated terrorist organizations, foreign terrorist organizations. Our generation spent the better part of 2 decades hunting Al-Qaeda, hunting ISIS. Well, as the president said,
I remember that.
This is the ISIS, this is the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere. They intimidate, they terrorize, they extort,
fair enough. It's a good way to put it.
The American people. The president's right. Every boat we strike is 25,000 Americans whose lives are saved because of the drugs that were headed in our direction.
I don't know.
So our message to these foreign terrorist organizations is: we will treat you like we have treated Al-Qaeda. We will find you, we will map your networks, we will hunt you down, and we will kill you. And we've seen that evidence
we will
in the
kill you.
maritime domain, whether it's in the Caribbean or in the Pacific with the last 2 strikes. We know exactly who these people are. We know what networks
man, those
they
strikes
work
are even
with,
happening in the
what foreign
Pacific?
terrorist organizations they're a part
I thought they were
of.
just in the
We know
Caribbean.
where they're going, where they originated from, what they're carrying. And they know we know. And that will soon start to change the calculus.
We're just going to do it anyway.
So the critique of this is, of course, as often is the case, wrong. We know our authorities. It's locked tight. and we're going to treat them like foreign terrorist organizations on the offense. So the Department of War is not going to degrade.
Well, they are. They've been designated. They are terrorists.
We're going to defeat and destroy these terrorist organizations to defend the homeland on behalf of the American people, making the jobs of law enforcement safer in the process, making the communities of Americans safer in the process. We think it's a very core mission of the Department of War, and we're proud to be here, Mr.
Well, all I got to say, it's about fucking time, man. It's about damn time that we start actually hunting down the fucking cartels, because they've been able to run shit like the Wild West for as long as I've been alive, for like friggin' 40 years, probably even longer than that. They've been running drugs and making God knows how many billions of dollars. Like even like from like going back to like the 70s, probably even before the 70s, that they've had these cartels that are running drugs up here. Like Pablo Escobar, how many billions of dollars in just hard cash currency did he have at his disposal? And that was like in the early 90s, or at least I think it was the early 90s when they took him out. So this is the entire video of the entire meeting, which I've already reposted it, or you can go to @White House to check it out. It's about an hour and a half. Or you can go directly to my profile. It's linked in the description if you want to check that out. So I've got this one. Rapid response from Stephen Miller. How much more blood has to be spilled by Democrats before this madness stops? Yeah, that's a great question.
Democrats in New York City, for
endless,
example,
I guess.
encouraging the rioters.
They don't give a shit.
Who are assaulting ICE officers, removing criminal aliens from their communities. You have Democrats trying to create tracking apps to tell the criminals, the fugitives, the rapists, the killers, the cartel members where
they are, and they're loud and proud with it too.
You have
they're
Governor
lunatics.
Pritzker trying to get ICE out of his city to protect illegal alien monsters who are committing crimes against children, against women, instead of protecting American citizens.
It's women.
This is a party that has embraced full-scale insurrection against the laws of the United States. You look at that arrest in Canal Street, for example, those 9 individuals, all illegal immigrants from Africa, almost all of whom were released into the country by the Biden administration.
Of course
you
they
have
were.
Among them, dozens of arrests, forgery, counterfeiting, drug dealing, narcotics trafficking, assault, battery, theft, domestic violence. And Democrats are saying these illegal aliens caught and released by the Biden administration not only should stay in our country, but they'll violently attack any federal officer who tries to remove them. And then more breaking news reported out by Fox's own Bill Maloogian. 3 people just died in California, killed by an illegal alien on the road, driving a semi-truck that was allowed into the country, caught and released by Joe Biden, and put on the road by Gavin Newsom. How much more blood has to be spilled by Democrats, Sean, before this madness stops?
Yeah, which, by the way, that semi-truck driver came from India, who came through the southern border. Last I checked, the country of India is not connected to our southern border in any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty sure we got kind of an ocean, a couple of oceans in between us and India. So how the fuck did he get here? It's a real serious question. He ended up in Mexico somehow. Probably some like quote unquote non-profit organization or some activist organization, AID or USAID, I should say. And that's probably who actually let him in, or who got the resources to fly him into Mexico or wherever the hell he ended up so he can cross over the southern border. People from India, people from Africa, people from China, they were all streaming over the southern border. Just makes you wonder, how the fuck did they get there? All right, so this is from Bill Mulligan. Actually, I already read this. Yeah, I did. I already read that at the beginning. So I'll just move on to Office of the DNI. DNI Gabbard on the Master ICE Tracker. It reminds me of the reason why I and so many others have left the Democratic Party. So it's a quote. I'll just let her say it herself.
So they're talking about, Director, a Master ICE Tracker. That's kind of a scary sounding list the government's putting together.
Very much so. Jesse reminds me of the reason why I and so many others have left the Democrat Party. When you look at this party that is more interested in protecting criminals, cartel members, gangs, those who are causing incredible harm, ravaging our communities across the country, than they are actually standing up for the victims. You see a party that in many cases celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You see a party now that is essentially putting the lives of our law enforcement and their families at great risk. This is not the values of our country. This is not the values of the First Amendment and peaceful protest. This is a party that's undermining the very foundation of our country and putting the American people at risk, which is why President Trump, throughout his entire campaign, he promised the American people, I will make America safe again. I will secure our borders, and I will go after these cartels and gangs who are terrorizing the American people, raping young girls, causing incredible harm. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, it's absolutely freaking ridiculous, man. It's absolutely crazy. Dude, that was kind of weird seeing berries and cherries on a Jeep. Look at that, man. That's kind of wild. Okay. All right. So U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, if the National Guard were to be deployed in Portland, it would provide much needed relief for those protecting our federal buildings. This deployment wouldn't be necessary if the governor had stood up to defend ICE personnel against these radicals. I don't know why they're saying if the National Guard were to be deployed, because the Ninth Circuit Court has already ruled that they're allowed to go into Portland now because I don't remember which court it was. It was the Ninth Circuit Court that put a stop to Trump's order to send the National Guard into Portland, but then the appellate court had sided with Trump and effectively gave the green light to send the National Guard into Portland. So I don't know why they're saying if it were to be deployed. I thought they were there by now. I thought as soon as they gave them the green light that they would be there within hours, but apparently they're not. So anyway, let's check this out.
Like we've seen all over the country, we're seeing more and more in the upticks in violence against ICE and our federal partners that are taking action in these criminal alien arrests.
Oh, yeah, by the way, yeah, this happened. So U.S. Marshal, an illegal immigrant, was shot in Los Angeles during an immigration operation. That happened today.
It seems as a vehicle was used again in a ramming incident.
Yet another instance of violence against federal authorities.
Told right now. That's good. But this is just what happens when you see that increase. You know, we keep saying over 1,000% increase in assaults on officers. It has to be more by now because
probably
it's really becoming the norm because we have so many elected officials that call for, violence or
it's fucking clown world.
To law
Can't make this shit up.
Making these arrests of these criminal aliens, and unfortunately, I don't see this stopping anytime soon. And ICE agents do have to protect themselves when they're out there.
Yeah, it'd be quite ironic if Democrats were to get back into power and everybody wants to attack federal law enforcement that the Democrats are sending out to do God knows what, probably trying to round up conservatives over absolutely nothing. But then they would say, oh, no, you don't want to attack those federal agents. They're the good guys now. Yeah, I know we drilled it into your brainwashed brains for years at this point that you're supposed to go after any federal agents. But no, you don't have to do that anymore. They're the good guys now. All right, Stephen Miller, President Trump's Homeland Security Task Force, a total government effort to destroy the foreign terrorist cartels and transnational crime. It is the most extraordinary law enforcement endeavor in American history, now fully operational in all 50 states. And he's responding to the White House. Biden surrendered our country to the cartels. We are taking it back, President Donald J. Trump. And that's the same meeting that we watched the clips of just a moment ago. All right, Homeland Security locked up. Yesterday, our ICE Gov heroes arrested more criminal illegal alien gang members, murderers, and pedophiles. Take a look at some of the criminals the sanctuary politicians are protecting. So we got this guy, Manuel Fonseca Sanchez from Mexico, convicted of indecency with the child sexual contact in Rockwall County, Texas. Fucking prick. All right, Rafael Emilio Ramirez Sanchez, criminal illegal from El Salvador, MS-13 gang member convicted for robbery in L.A., another asshole. Ricardo Antonio Malara, a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador, convicted for conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute at least 500 grams of methamphetamine in the northern district of Georgia. And then Liliana Dolores Sepulveda Martinez, a criminal illegal from Mexico, convicted for domestic violence and assault in Webb County, Texas. And finally, Sergio Lopez de la Cruz from Mexico, convicted of second-degree murder in Sarasota. Oh, well, that's in my neck of the woods. I live about an hour from Sarasota. All right. And then moving on to Caroline Levitt. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year when millions of Americans will use airports to travel to see their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed up until Thanksgiving, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country. It does not have to be this way if Democrats would just vote to reopen the government and end their reckless shutdown. I don't think this is going to happen. It ain't going to happen. I think my prediction is going to stand. They're going to keep it shut down for months.
The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport
it's starting.
and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make
No
ends
way.
meet as the Democrats continue to
unfucking
shut
believable.
down the government. Pilots
Air
are
traffic controllers
calling on
driving Uber.
Democrats to end this dangerous political
Unreal.
game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, "Our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress
Well,
and
without pay,
threatens
I can
the
only
efficiency
imagine.
of our skies." The
Very
Airline
stressful
Pilots
job, air
Association
traffic control.
International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's
I mean, don't they get
safety.
free therapy
Resources
services
are
or something like
stretched
that?
thin,
Because it's so
negotiations
stressful.
are delayed, and strain grows
I think
daily.
I read that somewhere.
With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports
Merry
to
Christmas.
spend time
Happy
with their
Thanksgiving.
loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication.
Yeah, but they don't care because they
with the
fly in
air
private
traffic
jets.
Controllers with the airline association.
They don't have to worry
and
about
with
all that.
them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government. These are very avoidable consequences.
So the air traffic controllers, I don't know if they have a union or not. I honestly don't know. I haven't heard whether if they have one or not. It wouldn't surprise me if they do have a union. But if they have to work without pay for a prolonged period of time to the point where they're running out of savings completely, even though they get retro or pay retroactively once it reopens, what if they reach their wits' end and they start staging walkouts? Air traffic controllers. I mean, she said that there's 11,000. I thought there'd be a lot more than that, but what if they start doing that? What if they say, look, we've reached the end. We've reached the end, my friend. We're not going to keep working anymore without pay. That would be absolutely catastrophic. They would have to shut down all of our airports across the country. It'd be like 9/11 all over again. Remember when they shut down everything for an entire week? It was just essentially like gridlock for the most part. And it wouldn't just affect the travelers, just people going from place to place. It would also our cargo. That would also be affected. I don't think the military would probably be affected in most cases, but it could also potentially be that some air traffic controllers want to keep working because they understand how important their job is, but then others would say, no, either I've had enough or I just physically can't because I won't have enough gas to get here because I'm literally out of money. I can't get here if I don't get another paycheck. And those individuals may be forced to not work just by not having any money to get to work. So they may end up having to close down airports and have to move around air traffic controllers to different airports, like to keep Atlanta's open because that's the busiest airport in the world, and maybe Chicago or New York or whatever, to try to keep those airports running while they might close down still international level airports, but maybe more of the regional sized airports. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm just saying if the government stays shut down for 6 months, 7, 8, maybe a year, I mean, will air traffic controllers really work for an entire year without pay? And I know it sounds insane, sounds ridiculous. There's no way the Democrats would keep it shut down for a year. But I mean, are you fucking serious? These are the Democrats we're talking about. It wouldn't surprise me if it went that long. I pray to God that it won't go for that long, because I just cannot imagine working for an entire year without pay. I mean, like, I could probably get along for a couple of months, but not a whole year. I mean, a whole year would be it'd be a nightmare. All right, US DOT rapid response shutdown will disrupt air travel, transportation chief warns. And we've got this from the Daily Signal. And it reads as follows. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy delivered a stern message at the Capitol on Thursday. The federal government shutdown is already putting a strain on air traffic controllers, and the problem will only get worse until the government reopens. Quote, next Tuesday is the first paycheck that air traffic controllers will not receive for the work they did in October, Duffy said at a House Republican leadership news conference. Matter of fact, here, I've actually got it right here. So rather than reading the whole article, we'll just give this a watch. If it'll go full screen. Actually, I may have to just open it up here on the X platform. Here we go. Let's give this a watch.
We pay those controllers as they go through the academy. We don't pay them a lot of money either. They rely on that. And when that money doesn't come, it creates not just disruptions for when Democrats in the Senate decide to forego the crazy left and actually fight for America. That's problems that ricochet in the months and the years to come. And I think it's important that we tell that story because if we don't, I think that you can give the Democrats a pass. We have to talk about the real consequences of what the shutdown does, talk about who we're fighting for, and why this matters. To, again, open up your government. Open it up. It's easy. And then sit down and negotiate. Have a conversation.
That's the only card they got left.
But to allow the
Democrats got nothing else to lose.
Senate to hold America hostage, I think would be shameful. That's not how we operate.
I mean, come on, dude. They're the Democrats. Of course this is what they're doing.
When that is the structure set
Would
by
expect nothing
Democrats.
less.
So I'm all in favor of making sure this funding comes. Let's open it up. Let's have a great conversation. Let's figure out where we go forward. And I think that would be the most common sense approach. But I'll just tell you this. I want to reiterate. We are all about safety. And we will make sure we work every day on that part of our job. But again, I can't guarantee you that your flight's going to be on time. I can't guarantee you that your flight's not
probably
gonna be
won't.
canceled.
Not in the coming weeks.
Depend on
especially Thanksgiving,
our
man.
Controllers coming in to work every single day. And again, my message to them is, one, thank you for coming and working. We appreciate that. Come to work, even if you don't get a paycheck. We need you to come to work. But if they do not, we'll know whose fault it is.
Yeah, I mean, I got family that's traveling for Thanksgiving. My brother lives in D.C., coincidentally, and my sister's going to visit him. My mom's going to go visit him. I'm not going. I'm just chilling in Florida for the season because I don't like traveling during Thanksgiving or the Christmas season. I mean, they've come down here to visit me in past years. Last year, actually, they came down. So not going to do it. Not this year. I mean, actually, the last time I left the state was like 10 years ago. I just don't like traveling, man. I'm just not, I traveled enough for one lifetime. That's what I use my 20s for. I use my 20s to travel. All right. Anyway, I lost my spot, so I got to get back to where I was. Oh wait, no. Never mind. That's right. I forgot. It was a different tab. Never mind. All right. So we're good. As far as the Daily Signal article, I'll just keep that linked if you want to take a look at that, and I'll move on to the next thing. I think we're still talking about the shutdown. Yeah. So as a small business owner for over 30 years, I know that uncertainty kills jobs. Florida's small businesses are losing contracts and having to walk off projects due to financial uncertainty of the looming shutdown. It's time Democrats join the House GOP to end the shutdown.
Yeah, because this is impacting the country, but here in Florida, our economy is taking a hit and residents are going without pay.
Yeah, well, I know that as a small business person myself, there's a lot of small business people I talk to every day. The uncertainties is killing them.
It's really quiet.
There's a lot of that doing government programs and projects that aren't getting paid, and they've walked off the jobs. So it's a bad situation, and we got to turn it around. I'm going to do everything I can to turn that around quickly. And enough's enough.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do if 5 Democrat senators keeping the government shut down? I mean, there's only so much you can really do, except give them exactly what they want. But I mentioned that in yesterday's episode. I think if you give Democrats everything they want, I bet they'll still not open the government. I bet they won't. I bet if they totally call their bluff, I bet they're just going to stand their ground. They're going to keep it shut down because they just want to inflict pain at this point. They just want to ruin Trump's presidency by any means necessary. And again, wouldn't surprise me if they keep the government shut down until the midterms. That wouldn't surprise me, although it sounds like it'd be absolutely catastrophic to the Democratic Party if they were to do that. But again, wouldn't surprise me. So from Tom Emmer, despicable, makes me so sick. Here is one of Whip K. Clark's own constituents. So Whip K. Clark, Catherine Clark, Jennifer Nassour, had to say about Congresswoman using American suffering as leverage during the Democrat shutdown.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Nassour.
Hello.
I'm a former chairman of the Massachusetts Republican Party, and I'm the host of the Political Contessa podcast. More
well, she got a history in politics.
I'm a constituent in Representative Catherine Clark's congressional district up here in Massachusetts. Representative Catherine Clark was on a program the other day and said that there are, of course, going to be some families that are hurt during the shutdown.
I played that clip on my show.
And that they need those families to be hurt because that's the only leverage that the Democrats have in negotiating. You know what's despicable and makes me so sick about that is that I see that there are Republican lawmakers who are out in their communities making sure that the good folks in their hometowns are being taken care of and aren't getting hurt. And you know what they're not doing? They're not using us as political pawns. It is disgusting. The shutdown needs to end. The Democrats need to have the American people's back, just like the Republicans do. Sit down at the table with the Republicans and stop the shutdown and get everyone back to work, get everyone a paycheck. And if not, those Democrats keeping the government shut down should give back their money.
Yeah, I think the Republican Party, they got to up their ground game. I mean, people have been saying that for years and years. We need like another 100 or 200 Scott Presslers, and we would end up with a super majority in Congress for sure. There'd be no doubt in my mind. I couldn't imagine how frustrating it must be to be either a conservative or a Republican or just right-leaning in general and being stuck in a deep blue state like Massachusetts. That would be so frustrating. All right, Senate Republicans. Because Senate Democrats refuse to open the government, approximately 42 million Americans are in danger of not receiving SNAP benefits. Democrats are under fire as food stamp funds run dry. 42 million, dude. That I can't get over that number. That, first of all, that is insane that we've allowed our system to get 42 million people on food stamps. And the other thing that's just shocking is the huge number that are going to go without food stamps starting November 1st. That's the earliest that it's expected to run out. So as Democrats and Republicans remain deadlocked over spending. So they've got an article here in the comments, which I'll comb over. Democrats under fire as food stamp funds run dry. Millions of Americans who rely on federal food benefits could be among the next casualties of the ongoing government shutdown. Approximately 42 million people in the U.S. who use Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, are in danger of not receiving aid come November 1st, when the program's funds are expected to run dry. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, warned state agencies in a memo obtained by Fox News Digital on Thursday. More than 24 states have alerted residents to possible lapses in funding. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin declared a state of emergency over SNAP benefits on Thursday. Damn, dude. It requires about $8 billion a month to fund SNAP benefits nationwide. When there's no funding, it impacts not just pockets of people, it's going to impact people all around the country, said Reverend Eugene Cho, president and CEO of Bread for the World, a nonprofit hunger and advocacy group that works with local partners to educate recipients about access to food. It could even have a substantial impact on perhaps even our food prices, which would probably benefit more than anything, at least name brand food, because if people aren't getting their SNAP benefits, they're not just gobbling up all the food in the grocery stores, because there's some people, they get like $2,000, $3,000 a month in SNAP benefits if they have 5-6 kids. They get lots, and boy, do they buy the name brand shit. They buy lobsters, they buy filet mignon. I've seen it on TikTok. I've seen how them people spend. A lot of people spend their money on with food stamps, and they show TikTok bragging about it. They'll buy like salmon. They'll buy just like the top shelf shit. And yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And speaking of TikTok, there's a lot of people on TikTok that are freaking out over this right now. Just absolutely going crazy. A lot of them, of course, are blaming the orange man. A lot of other people are just blaming Republicans in general. But there are some who are understanding what's going on, and that there's 5 Democrat senators who have the government shut down. And they're spitting facts on their TikToks. But there's compilation videos on YouTube of people from TikTok that are going absolutely apeshit over this, because they're freaking out, not knowing like how they're going to get money to buy food, even though you can go to food pantries, but those are going to be cleaned out if this actually happens. And not everybody's got family to lean on. Not everybody's got friends or people with means to lean on when it comes to this. So, I mean, if I was relying on SNAP benefits, I'd be stocking up on like ramen noodles, probably going out to Aldi and just getting like canned veggies and I don't even know what, like try to get like the most basic food to stock up on as much as I can, because they're probably going to keep this thing shut down for quite a while. So Cho explained to Fox News Digital that some states will feel the drying up government funding more than others. Yes, quote, yes, funding comes from the federal government, but the administration of it happens through local states, he said. And so when it comes to SNAP, states are on a little bit of a different rhythm in terms of how they're conveying the reduction of the elimination of SNAP benefits. It is playing out a little bit differently from state to state. The longer the shutdown goes on, the less funding also becomes available for the Women, Infants, and Children WIC nutrition program, which helps nearly 7 million vulnerable pregnant women and children under the age of 5. So if it's being dispersed on the state level, then individual states might be able to allocate funds from other parts of their state government in order to keep SNAP benefits funded. So there might be states that might be just perfectly fine for the next couple few months, where there could be other states, probably blue states, where they are just going to simply run out. Because I would expect Democrats to not try to funnel money into food stamps for their state just to inflict more pain on them while blaming Republicans for the shutdown at the same time. Would not be a shocker. It would pose a political headache for Democrats who have resisted agreeing to Republicans' federal funding plan for over a month, demanding significant concessions on health care in exchange for their support. Quote, we are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats continue to hold out for health care for illegals or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive timely WIC and SNAP allotments, USDA spokesperson told Fox. The House passed a 7-week extension of fiscal year 25 funding, largely along partisan lines, on September 19th. The measure, a continuing resolution, CR, is aimed at giving lawmakers more time to strike a longer-term deal for next year, which we know. So, all right, anyway, I'll move on to the next thing. Let's see. Well, what did I say about this? Wild hunch. I'll bet the vast majority of SNAP beneficiaries are liberals and progressives. I'm not sure how, but get the truth to them. 5 Democrat senators are holding their food stamps hostage. Yep, I stand by that. And Rep. Derek Van Orden press office, 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP to feed their families may go hungry in 9 days. Democrats say their suffering is leverage. Let that sink in. It's the same article, so I'll just move on to the next thing. From the House Judiciary GOP, Democrats, they shut down the government, but here's what they've been up to since. Let's take a look at what they're doing.
Let's see. Nope.
I have no agenda.
This is your shutdown, lowdown, and rundown.
All right, y'all. So we are going in the House. Or maybe not.
It's like it's a summer, but it's not. It's October.
How's it going? Happy Sunday. Hey, everyone. Happy Sunday.
I'm pretending to know how to knit. Leather chair outside the Capitol. Wonderful. God, dude, they are so narcissistic, man. Oh yeah, with all her stupid ass picture frames. I showed that clip last week on the swamp.
Can you see me?
We don't want to. Is that good enough?
Secret door. Let's.
All right. House Republicans, Democrats shut down the government. Now they've just blocked a bill to pay the military, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, Border Patrol agents, ICE officers, and park rangers, and others forced to work without pay during the Democrat shutdown. And headline from the Hill, Democrats block a bill to pay the military essential workers during the shutdown. And from the Republican Study Committee, Senate Democrats just voted against Senator Ron Johnson's bill to pay federal employees and military members who are still working during the Democrat shutdown. These are the same Democrats who voted against the funding bill 12 times to reopen the government. This is disgraceful. The left is inflicting maximum pain on Americans just to play politics. So they voted on the accepted federal employees appropriations bill today, which is S3012. And they got 54 yays and 45 nays, which looks like that it would have passed, but they need 60 votes because it is the Senate. They need 60 votes for it to pass, and of course it didn't. So it simply didn't pass. So they're not going to get their pay because Democrats voted against it. From Senate Republicans, Democrats just blocked a clean bill to pay the troops, Capitol Police, Border Patrol, air traffic controllers, their own staff, and other federal workers who are going without pay. So wait a minute. So Democrats, even their own staff members, are not getting paid right now? I mean, dude, that's just diabolical, man. These people are evil. All right, Senate Democrats, Senator Chris Van Hollen went to the Senate floor to pass a bill that would pay all federal workers, service members, and contractors during the Republican shutdown. But Republican Senator Johnson objected. Oh, did he now? Let's see what he says.
Giving the president a blank check to decide which federal employees to punish and which ones not to punish is a very dangerous thing at this moment. Why would we say to them that you can't have enough pay to make your electric bills or pay your water bills?
It's y'all shutting down the government, you bozo.
Why should federal employees be the ones
so evil
who are punished for the government shutdown? Why should they be the ones that have to overdraft their bank accounts?
Why is your party shutting down the government, asshole?
That's not fair. So the proposals that we're putting forward say that in this government shutdown, federal employees and, yes, certain federal contractors who have nothing to do with this political situation that we face, they should not be the ones to bear the burden. I hope we'll all agree to support this.
Wouldn't that completely defeat the purpose of the shutdown if you're going to pass a bill that pays all federal employees? Wouldn't that absolutely completely defeat the purpose? Why don't you just fucking open up the government then, dumbass?
I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of S3039.
All right, S3039. All right.
That the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of S3039.
Is there objection?
I will object.
Yeah, obviously that was taken completely out of context, the end there. S3039, you said, right? So hold on, let me do this. Google S3, yeah, 3039, which I looked this up. Oh, I just threw a freaking thing in there. All right, let me try this. And it didn't come up with anything. And the only thing it came up with was from 2023, 2024, and the True Shutdown. Okay, so here it is. The True Shutdown Fairness Act from the ongoing 119th Congress, introduced in the October 2025 shutdown. So let me throw this in. The True Shutdown Fairness Act. So what it's doing is that it's allowing everyone in the federal government to continue getting paid, but what it also does is that it blocks Trump's ability to lay off government employees. And that's the part of the bill that the Republicans obviously disagree with, because President Trump now has the power to furlough, permanently lay off sectors of the government. And of course, Democrats don't want that to happen. So it's S3012. I don't know why he was giving off a different number, because the other number that he gave, well, no, not S3012. What was it? Oh, hell, now I don't. Oh, here it is. The S3039, I believe, is what he said. So, and that has to do with the federal Kratom Consumer Protection Act. It aims to protect access to kratom. And kratom, it's a leaf that grows on a tree in Southeast Asia. People use it for like anxiety and pain relief, and helps them sleep at night. It's like one of those like herbal remedy types of things that people do. But anyway, so I don't know if he made a slip up or if he was just being purposefully misleading. That's probably the latter, is probably what actually ended up happening. But anyway, this bill provides appropriations to pay federal employees who work during a government shutdown. Well, then what's the point in a government shutdown if you're just going to pay everybody? Specifically, the bill provides appropriations for federal agencies to provide standard rates of pay, allowances, pay differentials, benefits, and other payments to accepted employees for work performed during any period in which interim, continuing appropriations or full year appropriations are not in effect for a fiscal year. An expected employee is an employee who is required to work during a government shutdown. Under current law, accepted employees are not paid until the government shutdown's over. Bill provides appropriations to pay accepted employees during a government shutdown. Also specifies that the term accepted employee includes certain contractors who support federal employees during a government shutdown. Federal agency may not use the funds provided by this bill during any period which continuing appropriations are in effect for the purpose of paying accepted employees of the agency. Well, they don't have it in the summary, but I know in the bill, it's somewhere in the bill, it states that that Congress or the president, something along those lines, can't lay off federal employees or something like that. But anyway. So from Speaker Mike Johnson, unbelievable. After Senate Democrats claimed they wanted a bill that would pay essential workers, Republicans gave them a chance to vote on a bill that would do that, and they blocked it. The good news is both Georgia Democrat senators finally broke ranks from Chuck Schumer and joined Republicans to support this simple bill, a clear sign they know Democrats' position on this shutdown is indefensible. But make no mistake, Democrats are still putting their own politics over the pain they're willingly inflicting on the American people. And for Fox News breaking, Senate blocks a Republican bill to pay federal workers during shutdown with only 3 Democrats voting yes. And I'll link that if you want to check that out. And I'm going to move on to the next topic, still shutdown related from the GOP. They posted this meme, of course, with the sombrero of Rep. Ted Lieu, because he posted, "Stop the Republican shutdown and save healthcare." All right. So stop the Schumer shutdown and save our country. And these are the senators who voted to shut down the government and those who voted to keep it open. So they voted to keep the government open by voting yes, and the Democrats voted to shut it down, 45 in total, with a no. Of course, Bernie Sanders, he likes to pretend to be an independent, but he's a fucking Democrat. Give me a break. And then, of course, there is Senator Rand Paul, who voted with the Democrats because, according to him, this CR bill would add money to the deficit. It would increase, I think he said it was like $2 trillion were going to be added to the national deficit. And he said as far as any amount of money that's added to the federal deficit, he always votes no. So, I'll just take him at his word that that's what he does. But that was his claim as to why he voted with the Democrats on that. So, according to Chuck Schumer, honestly, you can't make this shit up. From Caroline Levitt, at this moment in time, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. So when you listen to this, it's going to be under the context of the White House undergoing projects. There's a project that's going on with the Rose Garden. Not sure what they're doing with it. And then there's something else going on in the White House with regard to like remodeling or something like that. And then, of course, there's the ballroom. And Caroline Levitt says that Trump's main priority is the ballroom, but it's in reference to other projects going on in the White House, which, of course, Chuck Schumer, he counts on the Democrats who see this post to not actually click on this video to see it for themselves. He just, insists that they just remain stupid and just move on to the next topic while just believing every word he says.
Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
So yeah, listen to this carefully.
Ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio.
into the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking...
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio. Okay, so maybe the Rose Garden patio is the only other project that's happening right now.
Is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here?
Is he looking at any other renovations or any significant projects? So that's a very specific question that he's asking her.
White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
There you go. See, Chuck Schumer's trying to make it sound like that his main priority is the ballroom, which is a lot more important to President Trump than the shutdown or what's going on with Russia and Ukraine or what's going on with any other global conflicts or the drug trafficking or anything like that. No, it doesn't have anything to do with what she said, that his main priority with regard to White House construction or future endeavors is only the ballroom. Anyway, Aaron Rupar Collins, if the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies? Mike Johnson, yes. Yeah, we got proposals.
And we've gone back and forth on, you and I have, on what Democrats want here and whether or not that's health care for people who are in the country illegally, obviously. But I think the question is on the health care plan, to Marjorie Taylor Greene's point, is if the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies?
Yes.
Yeah, repeal it.
Yes. Yes.
You would have a plan tonight.
Fucking get rid of the fucking monstrosity.
Yeah, we could have that.
Stop the bleeding.
Yes. Yeah, because here's the thing. We work in a deliberative public body, and we have hundreds of members. It's a very complicated, very complex issue that requires a long time to build consensus around. We have ideas on the table, and the whole process of the legislative body is to build consensus around it. That's why we have to do that, and that's what we've been planning to do all along. It was all sorts of other stuff.
Okay, well, I mean, it sounds like they've got ideas. Probably not the answer she was looking for. Probably looking for something very specific that they're going to propose. But like he said, there's hundreds of members of Congress, and everybody's going to want something in it. All right, U.S. Southern Command, rapid, decisive lethality from the land, sea, and air. A look at U.S. military forces deployed to the Caribbean in support of the Southcom mission. Department of War directed operations and POTUS's priorities to disrupt illicit drug trafficking and protect the homeland. And, okay, so yeah, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Navy, AF South, is that? Yeah, Air Forces. Anyway, so let's take a look at this. See what the military's up to in the Southcom. Hell yeah, get them evildoers. Get those freaking drug traffickers and the narcos and the terrorists. All the above. Fighting the good fight for our homeland. Okay, Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs. Cuban regime elites hoard billions in secret accounts while Cuban families face shortages of food, water, and electricity. That's not a blockade. That's a corrupt regime stealing from its own people. Countries should not be complicit in the regime's corruption. Silence and indifference are complicity. Yeah, it almost makes you wonder why so many Cuban Americans ended up flipping red for Trump and why Miami-Dade County went red for Trump. It's almost as if they see what the Democrats are engaged in and how reminiscent that is to the Cuban regime. So, all right. Anyway, the regime profits, people suffer. Countering the Cuba-led UNGA resolution. There's no article. It's just, Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs just posted that. But anyway, yours truly said, I've lived a few hundred miles from Cuba for half my lifetime. It would sure be lovely to have the ability to travel to a free, prosperous Cuba. If it were a U.S. territory like Puerto Rico, I'd probably be living there right now. Such a shame. Cuba is almost 800 miles long and equivalent to the distance from New York City to Chicago. It's a very long island, very big. Okay, Republicans are on the ground in Virginia and New Jersey working hard to elect our candidates. We're just 2 weeks out from Election Day. It's time to get out the vote. Go to swampthevoteusa.com. Make a plan to vote. These candidates are in striking distance. RNC Senior Advisor Danielle Alvarez. Yeah, Alvarez. Okay, this is the last thing I got, so let's take a look at this.
They are investing in New Jersey and Virginia. They're critical races. I'll be very candid. This is definitely an uphill battle. An off-cycle, off-year election is tough because the voter turnout model, the voters that voted for President Trump, don't always make a plan to vote in these off-year elections. So I really encourage all of your listeners to make a plan to vote. Go to swampthevoteusa.com. Make a plan to vote. These candidates are within striking distance. This would really be groundbreaking if we were able to win these races because Democrats do have an advantage in these off-cycle elections. But again, we are within striking distance.
Yeah, of course, man. They've got a good ground game.
We need to make sure to win these seats, and I encourage every one of your listeners to make a plan to vote.
Yep, Republicans got to get better at that. They got to get out there on the ground, knock on doors, and try to get people in the local areas to vote. It is essential that they do that, especially Republicans. They got to beef that up and get better at that. All right, so that's all I got for this evening. My apologies for the late episode. Again, technical difficulties. I hope that doesn't happen again. So I'll probably have to wait on posting clips that I usually schedule throughout the day. I'll probably have to save those for later on Friday or maybe even in early Saturday. But anyway, one quick look at the shutdown. 22 days, 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 51 seconds as of this recording, with no end in sight, thanks to the Democrats, the 5 Democratic senators. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean the world to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new episode every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians and those bureaucrats and the agencies and everything else. And I also post daily updates on our episodes over on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.